Today was meant to be the president's big deadline for countries to reach trade deals with the U.S. But since he punted that date to next month, instead this morning, we have promises of more tariffs on the way. Now he's threatening 50% tariffs on copper imports and up to 200% on pharmaceuticals imported into the U.S. The president also posting on social media that more trade letters could go out to countries today after he sent 14 of them on Monday. NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung is here with us, along with Jared Bernstein, former chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors under President Biden. Brian, let's start with these new copper tariffs, 50% on coppers. That announcement sent share prices of the metal soaring yesterday. What can we expect in terms of impact on American consumers?
Yeah, and it's worth noting that the president had floated prior to that a copper tariff, but at the time it was 25%. So I think it's the number that markets are focused on, 50%, certainly an escalation of that. I do want to point out that the process by which a copper tariff will be put into place would be different than these letters that he's sending out to the countries. This would be part of likely a Commerce Department investigation under Section 230 to then give a report that would then give the president the authority to put that tariff into place. So there's a few steps that needs to happen before that actually goes into effect. Same story with the pharmaceutical tariffs that he's floated around 200%, which is certainly an eye-popping number. Crazy. But again, there's a few steps that need to happen before that. But when you talk about copper, certainly that's a big deal for things like electronics, machinery, automotive products as well. There's a lot of copper wire in your car, as well as the power grid. Those are the types of things that are consumer-faced and that could get more expensive if that tariff does come to pass.
And so, Jared, let's talk about the 200% tariff on pharmaceuticals. The president says this will be about a year and a half out or so. The goal is to bring down prices, of course, but could these tariffs at that level actually lead to the opposite?
Oh, unquestionably so. In fact, that would be my prediction by far. There's no way that you could stand up enough replacement production in the U.S. for a tariff of that magnitude. Now, one very reliable research group did a study that suggested a 25% increase in pharmaceutical tariffs would raise the price of medicines to consumers by $600 a year. Now, 200 is 8 times 25. I don't think it's necessarily that kind of a linear arithmetic story here, but that would be $4,800. Now, when you get up to that much, what you have instead are large shortages of medication and a lot of people going without. I don't take this seriously, by the way, and in fact, I think markets are discounting it as well. I think this is some kind of a weird leverage play, but it's a terrible economic idea.
Already, traders on Wall Street have begun using that acronym TACO, short for Trump always chickens out, to describe that he backs down from his tough talk and his deadlines that he sets. But take a listen to the president yesterday denying that he changed the deadline.
We didn't move, no. It's always been August 1st. That's when we're paying. And a statement was put out today, and I put it out just to make it clear. It wasn't a change. It was August 1st. We don't change very much. Every time we put out a statement, they say he made a change. I didn't make a change. Clarification, maybe. No, August 1st, they pay.
Brian, this is another promise. But do you think investors will buy it?
Yeah, and by the way, August 1st was not the deadline that he said when he initially put the pause on tariffs. It was July 9th,
right,
So it did change. It is August 1st now. There's an executive order that he signed that changed that date. So
and the executive order he signed just this week,
Just this week. It's an executive order that changes the date that he had originally sent. So just worth noting that he did change it. When it comes to the way that markets are reacting and treating all these tariff headlines, yeah, we saw markets fall tumultuously in the aftermath of the Rose Garden announcement on so-called Liberation Day. The S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average losing over 10%. They've since bounced back. So the Dow Jones is now positive for the year, about over 4%. The S&P is up over 6% year to date. So markets are not taking these tariff threats seriously. And if you want hard, concrete evidence of this, there was a UBS note after the letters went out on Monday where they said, quote, "It seems a wasted effort." This is a Wall Street Bank's words. "It seems a wasted effort to analyze every Trump social media post when investors understandably anticipate future retreats." So Wall Street is also leaning into this so-called taco trade by saying, you know what, we're not really going to take the White House seriously on these threats because maybe once we get close to August 1st, it just gets kicked down gets kicked down the road again. I think that's the way that Wall Street's treating it. I think maybe even regular people as well.
It's like the boy who cried wolf, that effect. Jared, the Wall Street Journal is also reporting that President Trump has decided to delay this tariff deadline after his advisors had said he needed more time to make deals with these countries. And we're seeing the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, he's been largely impactful on all of that. What do you make of this? We've seen 90 days come and go without 90 deals. Will a few more weeks make a difference?
Well, first of all, let me point out that in the crying wolf story, eventually a wolf showed up. So it's not at all clear to me that despite Wall Street's appropriate discounting of these threats, they're still not, that they're not doing considerable economic damage to the economy. And I can actually cite a long list of hard data problems that are related to these tariffs. That clip you just played, I guess we're used to it by now. But to me, that's downright scary, because what it shows is a president who's creating his own alternate reality. We all know that wasn't the deal that he signed, and we all know that he had to sign a new deal, as you pointed out, Anna, to change it. And yet, he's standing there in front of the camera saying, my reality is different. In terms of the deals, Trump could and should end this trade war tomorrow. He has two ways to do so. He could declare victory, or he could just set the rates. He will do neither of those. He refuses to do either of those, and that is prolonging the uncertainty, the discounting, the market ups and downs, the chaos. It's bad for the economy. It's bad economic policy. It's bad trade policy, certainly alienating our trading partners, and at this point, doing much more harm than good.
And don't these trade deals usually take longer than just a few weeks or even a few months?
If you're asking me, then the answer is unequivocally yes. The physics of trade deals are such that they can't possibly be arrived upon in this kind of a time frame. These tend to be 1,000-page documents where you say, here's how we're defining a financial institution. Here's how we're defining rubber tire grade 4. But this administration doesn't do those type of details, so we end up with these broad frameworks.
And Jared, I wanted to get your thoughts on the letters to countries that Trump's been sending out this week. The rates he's announced in these letters so far seem to be little changed from what was proposed back in April on that so-called Liberation Day. What gives?
You should think of the August 1st extension as simply a Liberation Day extension, because precisely as you said, there are a few differences there in the numbers, but it's very much the same thing. I think the key point is that these tariffs would really blow a hole in international trade and make life much more expensive for American consumers, especially middle class and lower income households. And that's the bottom line that everyone should have in the back of their minds when we're talking about this. I said the same thing about the pharmaceutical tariffs. At the end of the day, this goes right in the opposite direction of the affordability crisis that's besetting so many American households right now.
Jared Bernstein, Brian Cheung, guys, thank you so much.